Deku Just Was, simply faster, by WestleyWylieReadsFics. Read by Distracted by Books. All of Class A were sparring quirkless with Mr. Aizawa one by one. Aizawa was helping them with their flaws and making sure they could fall in a safe environment, literally and figuratively. Aizawa was so proud. He was still kicking his class's ass and doing it quickly, but it was more like sparring with heroes that just didn't specialize in quirkless fighting instead of sloppy 15-year-olds. But it's not like anyone had noticed, after all. It would take a master of recognizing small facial and body language cues to even consider the unnoticeable quick flash in the man's eyes as anything recognizable as any good emotion. Izuku Midoriya was said master. He spent his whole life dodging bullies and picking up on body language. Izuku knew what it looked like when a person was gearing up to hit you, feeling a certain emotion, or about to do much of anything, really. Izuku had spotted that pride in his teacher's eyes and hoped to match it during his own quirkless spar. Izuku had been a few minutes late to class, so Aizawa-sensei had decided he would go last as a punishment. At the time, Izuku was fearful. He had always heard Eraserhead was the king of quirkless fighting. It was also just a logical assumption to make. In all fairness, Aizawa-sensei did look experienced and quite fast during the fight, and his moves, all some sort of, basically a super move, Izuku had noticed, were great. Izuku knew for a fact that his mind was a very fast thing, so fast that it made a lot of things seem slower, especially fights. So when Izuku was analyzing the fight to see exactly how Aizawa-sensei looked the split second before a move or a hit, he didn't notice how Eraserhead's fighting tempo was a little slow. Izuku had learned about fighting tempos when he was young and in a fencing rabbit hole, and it could apply to an extent to actual fights. It was easiest to think of a fighting tempo as speed. If you were going faster, you'd have more time to make more moves. Most heroes had more of a 1, 2, 3, 4 tempo, or hit, 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 hit tempo. Izuku knew his fighting tempo was fast, more similar to 1, 2, 3, 4, or hit, 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 hit. Eraserhead's fighting tempo was much better than average, but slower than Izuku's 1, 2, 3, 4, or hit, 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 hit. Because his tempo was faster than any average person, Eraser didn't notice that he wasn't the fastest that he could be. Midoriya, Aizawa said, ushering the last student he had sparred with, or Araka, to go sit down. You're up next. Aizawa was tired from fighting 19 students, actually. He was already sleepy, as always, and he normally didn't have to do more drawn-out fights, even if for just an extra 2 or 3 minutes, especially not 19 of those said drawn-out fights. So Aizawa was having a drink of water, which also gave Midoriya a quick minute to stretch. Aizawa only heard snippets of the conversation. Isn't it so cool how Sensei barely broke a sweat? I feel like I get drenched on a run. Kaminari said that. Aizawa absently thought, kid needs more endurance training. Midoriya, still stretching, smiled brightly. Yeah, I'm really excited to fight him, the boy said excitedly. The class all froze, as if Izuku had just confessed to enjoying stabbing children, then himself. Aizawa definitely caught that. The teacher turned around with a scary smile that promised suffering. Oh, you're excited now? Yeah, Sensei, you're a really great fighter. Apparently the best in the underground, and it's going to be really cool to see your moves firsthand. Izuku smiled brightly again, obviously having no malice in his voice. Despite this, Izuku definitely didn't see Aizawa-sensei's evil grin, and definitely wasn't feeling pure fear at the moment. Then I'll make sure you get to see all my moves. Izuku smiled again, more excited than afraid, thankfully. I'm also really happy to get to try out my other fighting style again. I had it for when I can't use my quirk, and it's going to be really fun to see how it works against you. I really hope I can improve it. Katsuki Bakugo, remembering the way Izuku could defend himself in middle school if he felt like he needed to, didn't know if his teacher would be on bed rest for a few days or 2 weeks. Hopefully Izuku would only go that far. Aizawa knew his student would probably be cocky with a powerful combative quirk, but he didn't think Midoriya would have that cockiness extend into quirkless fighting. Did the kid even realize he was being cocky? Izuku Midoriya was not, in fact, being cocky. The fight started off like most of the other fights. Aizawa-sensei coming in with a swift high kick. Deku had dodged. He dodged so quickly it looked like Aizawa hadn't even started the kick yet. That was because Deku wasn't reacting to the kick. He was reacting to Aizawa-sensei's body language that Deku knew meant, hey babe, this MF is gonna kick your whole ass in the face. Deku had gone low, so he quickly reached up to where his face used to be and made contact with Aizawa's foot, quickly grabbing it. Before Aizawa could really process that, his brain went into hero mode. Ah, shucks. Deku had already pulled him to the floor, but Eraserhead swept his legs across the floor to kick this guy out from under his own legs. Deku had stepped on one of the legs with his foot. Eraserhead was able to lift his upper body up and pull the guy down. Deku knew he was falling towards the floor, so he fell in a roll, how Sensei taught his other classmates in their spars. Deku got up quite quickly. Aizawa-sensei the same. Deku went for a hit to the stomach and then a hit to the back quickly after Aizawa-sensei grabbed his arm, just like he planned. The next series of events were only a few seconds long, if that, and played out as so. 1. Deku grabbed onto Aizawa's shoulder with his hand in the arm that was being held, jumped up, pulling himself slightly with his arm onto Sensei's shoulders. 1.5. Eraserhead stumbled forward slightly. 2. Deku wrapped his legs more so around Aizawa-sensei's neck and interlocked his ankles. 2.5. Eraserhead tried to lean back to get this guy to slip off, but it was a millisecond too late and the person had locked their legs, so Eraserhead had to lean forward to keep balance. 3. Deku leaned back, jerked the back of his feet into Aizawa-sensei's neck, unlocked his ankles, and jumped off of his teacher using his feet to help boost him off, landed in front of Aizawa-sensei, then turned around. 3.5. Eraserhead had already fallen to the ground, then sat up again. The fight continued, Deku being very fast and Eraserhead barely being able to block. The fight went on for a while, but eventually Deku had gotten his sensei to the ground, his foot on the man's head, threatening to crush the skull below it. I give up. Eraserhead hated saying that, but he hated what was going to come next even more. What do you want from me? Izuku Midoriya was great at analyzing people's movements, especially body language and facial cues, but 1. Aizawa-sensei's face was pressed into the ground. 2. He wasn't very good with people's voices. And 3. He was on a bit of an adrenaline high. Deku took his foot off his teacher's head, understanding the fight was over. Good match, Sensei, he said with his usual bright optimism. Shota Aizawa looked up, the realization hitting him like a truck. He hadn't been fighting an A or S-ranked villain in an alley. He was in a quirkless spar with one of his first-year students. He had also just lost. Izuku's classmates were freaking out. How was Midoriya able to do that? That was Eraserhead, the pro hero. And Izuku casually beat him in his best area. Bakugo let out a sigh of relief. Thank God, I was worried we'd have to get a crap-ass substitute for at least a week. The Deku squad looked scared, besides Todoroki. Oh my God! Didn't you know Deku in middle school, Bakugo? Uraraka questioned. Yes, He was worse then. I'm honestly glad he went easy today. The hell do you mean easy? The whole class minus Midoriya, Bakugo himself, and Todoroki yelled. I'm pretty sure he's some sort of god. The kid simply exists while he shouldn't. There is something that is beastly and godly about that problem child. Hizashi patted his boyfriend's back. I feel a mix of fear and need to steal the kid from All Might and the Daylight Heroes all together to help him learn every other part of being an underground pro. You really think Midoriya is that good? Hizashi Yamada had never seen his boyfriend look so quietly terrified, yet also somewhat proud. Zashi, he didn't just beat me in a fight in my specialty. Problem Child made me think I was fighting a villain on the streets and losing. I forgot he was my student. I was going all out. I felt slow. Maybe we should go to bed before this becomes a mental breakdown. How are you already sleeping? Epilogue. All Might and Eraserhead may or may not have battled for who got to teach Deku how to be a certain type of hero. One may or may not have bit the other. End of story.